Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have all cell phone silence during the meeting. I look for an approval of the agenda.
Go ahead. I'll second.
Okay, so we got Tammy approving and
Mike second.
Mike second. Okay. Item 5, public appearances and citizens' comments. I'm not going any further. Item 6, approval of the consent agenda.
I move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 7, consideration discussion variance request regarding Wisconsin Housing Preservation Court parkland fees in lieu of dedication and park improvement fees. Right?
Okay, 6 o'clock start time probably threw them off, which is why they're not here, but I think I can get us through this one. Wisconsin Housing Preservation Corp has requested a variance. They requested 2 variances, but in the course of review, we have determined that the what's called the fee in lieu of dedication for the park fee is not applicable in this case. We reviewed the original plat that was approved, and there was sufficient land dedicated at the time of that plat approval to account for the additional dwelling units that this development will construct. And so, since there is that land already dedicated, they are not required under our ordinance to pay this fee. In fact, the fee is not leviable against them under our ordinance. So they do not need a variance for that, and they would not be required to pay that $40,000 fee because of that. They are.
Go ahead.
The other fee they're requesting a waiver from is the park improvement fee, which is a $100 per bedroom. That one they would require a variance for if to have waived. It's a 68 bedroom building, so it's $6,800. Their reason for requesting is that since it's partially funded by tax credits, is that there's a cap on expenditures that they can make before they start losing some of those benefits of those tax credits, and they're bumping up against that, and so any additional costs that are laid before them, they have to cut somewhere else, whether that be the building itself or construction or material quality or something of that sort. So that's the reason that they're requesting the $6,800 reduction.
And in their design, what are they contributing to the site that would be park-like? They have a walking path?
Correct. Well, they are gonna construct a walking path to connect to the state bike trails. So they'll have ample green space in the development that's not developed, that's still grass and green space. And then in addition, another important thing to notice, its construction value is about $8.9 to $9 million we're looking at, and so we're looking at minimum $30,000 to $35,000 of tax revenue from a building such as this. So currently we collect nearly nothing in tax revenue from that property. So we would quickly recover the cost of waiving the fee if the board did choose to do so. The improvements will.
And they are including affordable units in this space?
Correct. Yes. It's geared towards what they always use a quote of, I think it's 60-some% of the working population of Wisconsin earns under $20 an hour. It's geared towards that population to afford it. So on average, you'll need to have a income of at least $13 an hour to be able to afford the rents that they plan to be charging there. So it's a mix of 1, 2, 3
At
bedroom.
13 you could.
Correct.
And one of the things they pointed out to us was that to do a project like this in this size community is almost unheard of, because they like to be in the bigger metropolitan areas. So they worked hard and very diligently to try to get this project in New Glarus. So
The construction costs are the same as here as they are in a larger city, but you don't command the rents that you get in larger cities, and so the return on investment is lower for projects like this in rural areas.
I would make a motion that we would go ahead and waive that fee for this project.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I would like to know a little bit more about this, hooking up with the bike trail. Is that going to be a trail in itself, bike trail, walking trail for strictly the adults? Or is there going to be something there that the kids can use as well?
They've referenced it as a walking path, multi-use path.
But it will have to be the size. I mean, some of those folks will be handicapped, so I'm sure that they'll have to address that as well.
Yeah, I would imagine that, I have not seen the plans for their walking path, but I would imagine that it will be of similar size as it's connected, as the path it's connected to, just for aesthetic purposes. It's about 1,000 linear feet of path that they'll be putting in to connect it, so to benefit the residents, and then it'll also be open to members of the public who might just be walking there.
Anything else, Mike? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, approval of development agreement with Wisconsin Housing Preservation Corp. for Prairie House Development.
This is the development agreement for that project so that they can move forward with breaking ground. They'd like to do so this month. Our attorney has reviewed it and handled the negotiation parts with their legal counsel, and they think it's a reasonable agreement. You read through it, it touches on things such as the inset parking, that the village will plow it, but construction and maintenance and things of that nature still falls with the developer. So all the details of street lighting and things of that nature are in that development agreement. So staff is recommending approval.
I would move we approve the development agreement.
Second.
We don't need to fight over it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, unfinished business. Discussion consideration request for $500,000 financial commitment to fund a new public library facility.
All of the requested information was included in your packet, the information from Ellers, for the borrowing information, as well as, I apologize, but the page number did not print, so let me see if I can find that for you. And did you see it in here?
It's around page,
Starting on 59, towards the end.
Okay.
Hey, what?
59, so it has both the,
that's it.
so page 59. It's got the $1 million, $1.25 million, $1.5 million borrowing, and it also has the library borrowing tax levy impact on $100,000, $175,000, and $200,000 valued home at the $1 million, $1.25 million, and $1.5 million borrowing level. And so we still have the $1,040,000 financial commitment is previously approved, and this is for the additional $500,000.
Why is everybody looking at me? Would anybody like to start some discussion or make a motion, or what do you want to do here?
I make a motion to close that discussion on topic.
Second.
Can we do a vote on that?
I'm not aware, but it can't hurt. Sure.
So we're voting to close the discussion on this topic.
And this is gonna be only by Mike
Yes.
and Mike Gancher,
Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Chuck,
Yes.
Petra,
I'll abstain.
Roger.
Sure, yes. Okay, vote passes. Okay, discussion and consideration of 2020 draft budget.
The updated 2020 draft budget is before you. The village has, since the last meeting, has received the highway aid revenue numbers, which came in higher than expected. The notable changes to this draft budget since you last saw it are as follows. There's $8,000 that are included for vets and field maintenance. We have increased the PD technology allocation from $8,000 to $13,500 to fully fund their request. And we have placed the remainder of that state highway aid into the public works street budget. The budget remains balanced and takes full advantage of its allowable levy increase. And if there are any changes, it's probably best to do so by motion, just to confirm that it's the will of the body as a whole. The public hearing is scheduled for November 19th. Is that correct, Lynn?
Yes.
November 19th. So adoption of the budget can't take place until after that, but it could come to substantial completion prior to doing so. And Lynn will post has to have the posting into the paper. Can you remind me of that date, Lynn? The
This Thursday at 4
Or this
o'clock.
Thursday, so.
So can I get a clarification? You said that any changes we need to make a motion, are those changes that we don't, like you just made changes because you said we got more money than we thought, so you added money back in to fund things that, so we don't need to make a motion to change that, we only need to make a motion if we,
Correct, that's part of the staff recommended budget.
okay.
So any changes beyond,
So if
What
we're
staff has
comfortable with
agreed.
what you've done, then we just.
no action is
No
necessary.
action.
We would hold over until the public hearing.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch how much, did we get, how much was the total that we got that was more than what you had?
Do you have
Budgeted.
the highway aid number?
Was it 157? Was that the
It
one?
was around 20,000,
Mhm.
wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know the exact.
Around
number.
20?
I have
Okay,
to go
I just-
on my-
Curious what
Yeah,
was left over to go
Yeah.
into the.
we.
About 5,000 left over to go into,
I think that's about 8.
not all, so correct. I believe, I guess for the PD technology, did we choose to utilize additional fund balance for that instead of the 5.5?
Capital project is in here. 13.5. We still have that as general fund balance.
Oh,
wait,
full
no,
13.
that was 3, yeah. D tech, down at the bottom, the sinking
Mhm.
is 3, and that's levy,
3 from levy,
yeah.
3 from levy, and then 8 from. was
Well, they have
to the-
13.5 in the top for the new
Mhm.
computer service.
So 3 from that, plus the 8 was $11,000 of that revenue aid, and then the rest of that aid we put into, about 2,800 of it went to the assessing contract, for if they have to do additional work to update the, property cards. If what they receive from Gardner is not, up to standard. And then the remainder, which would be, that takes us to about $5,000 remaining.
Yeah, and
Just
that's what
under,
you
just
said.
under
Yeah,
five.
yeah.
Okay, so now I'm
Okay.
confused again. So did we find out if Garner was happy with what we had? Because I remember when we went ahead and approved the contract, they were gonna look at what our current records were and then make
The
a
new
determin-
one,
The new,
not
part,
current.
right, sorry, the other way around.
In the packet, when we just approved the accurate
Contract.
contract as part of the consent agenda,
Right,
there is the option to update the field cards because Accurate is thinking that what Gardner has
okay,
is not sufficient and they're gonna have to do some updating to the field cards
Right.
and get the stuff online.
okay.
So there's the option for the 2,000, 2,800,
I
yeah.
believe.
That is part of the contract proposal that's in here, so we included
We
that in
already,
the budget.
we already approved that.
The contract.
Tonight,
You're right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
We had the discussion quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
We could, I mean,
Who we were gonna go to, and then
Right.
they prepared a contract, and that's
Okay,
tonight.
and this was the approval.
so we had awarded the service to them, but we drafted a formal contract.
And that's when
And
they came up
that's
with
what this-
the
okay.
additional
Right,
work that might be needed.
right. And then, so we have in the budget an allowance for that,
Correct.
is what you're saying?
We added it as part of that, when we got some extra here.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's where you put that, was when we got that.
Yep.
Okay.
I had a couple of questions here in regards to the budget. The item for the ball line of 175,000.
Mhm.
It was my belief a while back, when I attended a few park and rec meetings, that there would be a parent, an active parents group that might help to support, you know, the restructuring or rebuilding of that. And I don't know how, I haven't followed up, so I don't know how much of that is in the process, but I do think we need to take a look at our fees and perhaps increase those.
We still may, groups may still be open to assistance.
Okay.
Both the school district and the baseball
Okay,
association.
so that's still a
But they've
possibility.
been waiting until after we receive the bids back to know what they might be contributing to, what part of that project their money would be going towards.
Yeah, we need to get the specifics on the bids, and then actually the support, the parent group, the team,
Mhm.
they might even, you know, supply labor, they might, you know. there's
Yeah, I knew
ways
it
that
was
we can
out
work
there, I
with them, But we're waiting for, we need to get bids and see what we're actually going to build. And then the school is waiting, as Drake said, for that as well, to give us a commitment for what they can,
Okay.
So we
Contribute.
basically still just earmarking
yeah.
money,
It's just, it's not in the budget, it's just waiting.
we'll decide
Okay.
Next-
can and
next year.
can't do.
Essentially, the 175 is if we approve, if every alternate bid we decided to go with, and if no one else contributed to the project,
Right.
is what we estimate.
That's our
That's the
top.
That's
total.
the worst case
And
scenario.
we're, yeah.
And that would even have to be approved.
Correct.
Yes, that,
Right.
that is.
And it's the Garner softball. baseball.
Yep. It's all the improvements thing.
Yeah.
The other question I had in regards, and I don't know, I looked, but I wasn't able to find it, I didn't look, what is our mowing budget? Where is that, yeah?
It's rolled into,
It's under parks.
We just discussed this.
Yeah.
so it's been extended with the 20, or just under $20,000, if I can remember correctly.
Is that and then the 5,000 for the floral clock mowing is in addition, so it'd be,
Correct, that's a separate.
That's mowing and plants and care and.
Oh, right here,
Everything.
purchase service.
Yeah, it's
So
mowing
20,000.
and it's porta potties are in that one.
Mhm.
because we had a public works meeting the other day, and the public works director had expressed an interest in maybe mowing, that was just in the works.
We had discussed it with, Joe and I had discussed it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with
Well, not
me-
this budget,
Yeah, with me coming on board and
yeah.
the funding that's available is that he would probably need additional staff support to take
Yeah.
over mowing in the form of
And I
LTE or
don't-
part-time labor.
So that's a discussion, that's in the works.
And purchasing, there's probably additional equipment we would have to purchase to be able to take over mowing in-house.
And the other question I had was, on the maintenance of the floral area, the 5,000, does that contract include the equipment from the village, or do they bring their own equipment to mow and do all of that? You know?
I'm not familiar
I
with
think they bring their own small mower, when they bring the,
They bring their own hand mower.
yeah, they do that themselves.
And so what does that entail, basically, that they mow and they plant?
They plant and.
They buy the plants
Mhm.
themselves?
Weed, they buy those and they buy the ones that are out in front of the village hall and stuff.
And then are they required to maintain the, I'm sure they're not required to maintain the sign?
No, that's a whole other.
That's a whole other
Yeah.
problem.
Yes.
Yes, they're very good about getting
Yeah.
the clock fixed and finding,
Yeah.
doing the research, getting the company, getting it all.
I just, I mean,
It's not
I just
easy.
look, the whole village
Easy
is
to find.
19,000, and then that is 5, so just looking at cost. Okay.
They do plant the barrels out in front of the village hall and water those as well. I think the ones are on the flag.
That were the only questions that I had.
Yeah.
You said that was your last question.
Okay.
I promise you, that's it. Okay, I had everything. Okay, got it. That was it.
Anyone else have any questions on the budget?
Well, are we approving the budget tonight?
We can't adopt the budget tonight until after the public hearing.
Okay.
But we
We're
can
approving the
come to,
draft.
we can come to substantial,
Agreement on the draft.
we will not, we don't need a motion to approve tonight. We'll just,
So just go to hearing.
we'll have
So-
discussion and then we'll hold it over till the public hearing.
Okay. And this budget includes the $500,000 for the library?
All of those borrowings have to be authorized at a later date.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
So anything you see regarding borrowing, each borrowing has to be authorized individually at the time of the borrowing.
And then it's a service fee for the borrowing that goes in the budget, right? Isn't that what I understood it?
Correct,
Like when you-
Lynn estimates
When you
what those
explained the
payments
little
might be
grid to me.
Oh,
for
Yeah.
debt payment.
yeah, like right now, this budget has in the debt service, the principal and interest for the fire truck, but we don't know exactly what that is, so it's an estimated number in the debt service fund.
And a lot of times when we borrow,
Okay.
for example, when we borrow in 2020, we might not have principal and interest payments that start occurring in 2020, but
Right,
it's all in how the debt is scheduled.
okay.
So tonight, we're just looking it over and
If you'd like to, if you have any changes you'd like to make, we could do so
I
at this
looked at
time.
the last budget and then this one, there's not a lot of wiggle room.
No, there's not a lot of ways.
I put them side by side and I'm like,
I didn't bring my schedule, but just refresh us on the timeline.
For approval,
Required timelines.
so this Thursday by 4 o'clock, Lynn has to have the budget into the paper, printing, and then in November 19th is the scheduled public hearing. Then if it passes that night, that leaves enough time to get it to the county and for tax bills. And the public hearing will be November 19th. Following the public hearing is the opportunity to adopt the budget and all those resolutions that I'm sure you're all familiar with as far as approving the levy, and all those will be drafted and ready for approval as well. So it would be adopted and everything would be approved the 19th if the board is ready.
Pretty much has to be some, doesn't it? In order to get,
There's not-
get the
To
bills.
get the tax bills
Yeah.
printed and all
Get
every time.
things
When I was
to
with the city of Sun
county.
Prairie, the budget was one time approved in December, so.
Really?
and you're burning the midnight oil, but November 19th is certainly the preferred time to adopt the budget.
Since we send all that down to the county prefers to have.
Exactly.
I mean, I go back with what Peggy said, it seems like we're running a fine line here, we pretty much had to had to stay the course from everything that I could see. Is there anything that you're concerned that?
I did have another question, if it's okay, Chuck.
Okay, go ahead. We started earlier, so.
No, I did lay it side by side. The New Glarus home payment in lieu of taxes, it went down $700. And I was wondering why is it $700? Is there a reason why that went down?
That
Well,
did
the
not,
budget here is
figure is
26,000 and we are
20
estimating.
27.
They're just gonna-
27. Oh, I'm looking at the 2020 gross, here you go, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good.
Are chipping in a little extra, looks like.
Yeah, well, we have to calculate it based on, and it's
Oh.
only specific services and expenses out of the general fund that get calculated into what they would pay it.
Uh-huh.
You know, they pay, well, they don't pay for snow plowing because it's their own streets.
Yeah.
But they pay for police and fire and EMS and election administration and, you know,
Yeah.
libraries in there.
Right.
So there's
I
a,
didn't realize there was an estimate at that event figure.
yeah.
Very conservative.
So I guess now I'm a little confused and would like clarification. So they give us amount that you formulate, but it's different than taxes?
correct, because they're a tax exempt property.
Okay. Right.
And
But
the
they
village
still
entered
do contribute.
It's similar to like the utility pays a payment in lieu of taxes as well, since our utility is tax exempt. They pay a payment in lieu of taxes, so when a property is tax exempt, there can be an agreement that's entered into that there's a payment in
That they
lieu of
still
that to
contribute for
pay for services.
for services that they utilize. That makes sense.
And it only covers the duplexes,
Correct.
Okay, right, yeah,
the number of duplexes.
which is are like more, a little bit more independent of homeowners, yeah.
Owned by the.
Right,
How many of those are there? 14?
right.
There's 20.
20.
Oh, 20 something, okay. 26, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
I would just comment that although you might not see much wiggle room in the budget, the village is financially strong. It's in a financially good position. We have, healthy fund balances. We're maintaining the level of services that we've been providing. We find areas to invest strategically and make improvements where we can. We strategically utilize debt in order to accomplish projects. So I don't want anyone to think that it's a negative budget. There are good things that are going on and that the village is accomplishing and will continue to accomplish under this budget.
Well said.
Because we do pay attention to the monies, so that's why we use it strongly. Yeah.
So is there any more discussion on the budget items?
I don't have any more questions, I'm not allowed.
Oh, come on now, First of all, I'm the one you should be asking permission from, not that. And you're the president pro tem besides.
Oh, that's right.
So, we just want to move on.
We can just move on, and the budget as it is drafted now the budget will be presented at the time of the public hearing. It's one that will be published in the paper and then ready for approval and adoption on November 19th.
Okay. Any further business? Hearing none? Go, Mike. It's your turn.